Hello, everyone. This is Dr. B from Steps to the Future. Welcome to another College and Career Conversations. It is so great to have you here today. As you know, I've been talking the last few weeks about focusing on HBCUs. They've been in the news a lot. It's something that I'm working on, learning more about historically Black colleges and universities. So today I am so pleased to have with me as my guests two young men who both attended HBCUs and both happen to be engineers. So we will meet with them in a minute. So today I have with us Martin Foster, who has a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from North Carolina A&T, right here down the street from me, not too far. And then he also has a Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Rhode Island. Yay, Rhode Island. You know, you guys know I'm from Rhode Island, so I'm loving that. Martin right now is a senior mechanical engineer at Raytheon. Also with us, we have Sheldon Greene. Sheldon has a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from FAMU, Florida A&M. And he also has a Master's of Education from Tennessee State University, and he is a systems engineer at Raytheon. So just stay with us for a couple of seconds, and we will be right back. Okay, everyone, thank you. Welcome back. And welcome, Martin, and welcome, Sheldon. I am so pleased to have both of you here today. So
nice to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So let me get started. So I noticed we have some people that have already logged on. So folks, as we're talking, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat area, and we'll make sure that we address your questions and comments. So I really hope you get a lot out of this. So the first thing I want to do, and it doesn't matter who goes first, I just want to ask, so tell me about, first of all, deciding to major in engineering, and second of all, why an HBCU? So actually, I'll start with Martin first, because you're the closest to me on the camera.
Okay. So why engineering? Maybe I can answer both your questions somewhat in this answer. So I think as a youngster, I was always into taking things apart, putting it back together, whether it be our remote control cars, GI Joes, anything that I could unscrew. I figure I had to, I guess, Frankenstein it up, and modify it my own way and rebuild it. So that kind of got me in engineering. But I mean, as a kid, I don't necessarily know if I knew what an engineer was. I didn't know the term for that. So when I was, I think 8th grade was the first time my mother's company was going to the Black Engineer of the Year conference in Baltimore, Maryland. It's the annual conference they have there. It's quite the spectacle if you have a chance to go. I think it's in DC now. So she took me there in 8th grade. Just kind of opened my eyes to engineering, and also just an unheard of number of Black engineers, Black professionals in that environment. So I went there, and it was very influential. I got to her in 10, I saw several Black engineers, Black professionals. I went to the award ceremony, but even beyond that, I was going around the career fair, and there's companies like NASA, Toyota, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, all these major companies, and I'm kind of going by. And like I said, I'm only in 8th grade at the time, but I'm kind of perusing, overhearing conversations, and occasionally a professional will come over to me and say, "Hey, young man, what are you interested in?" I kind of tell them, my spiel about taking my toys apart, putting them together, and they'd say to me, "Hey, maybe you'll be an engineer." So that kind of planted the seed, and then just from there, I kind of kept that idea in my head, and I was good at math and science. So that sent me down a path to engineering, and I actually went to an engineering summer program. It's Southern University in Baton Rouge when I was, I think, a freshman year going to sophomore year, and that opened my eyes to engineering even more. It opened my eyes to an HBCU experience going to Southern for, I think it was about 6 to 8 weeks for that program. So that it was twofold, got me into engineering and got me into considering an HBCU. And I think I answered your question, I guess in 2 parts, but.
No, but I love your answer. And I love what you said about the early support from your mother by taking you to that conference, because a lot of times people don't think of that as something to do if they have the opportunity to do it. So I think that's really great. And that you went to a summer program. I'm always trying to encourage students and parents, think about it. There are so many things that are going on. I know last summer there were so many programs students could attend virtually just to learn what something was. So I really love hearing that. So thank you for that.
I liked it so much. I went to one in the next summer too. I went to one in Delaware State.
Great.
The following summer, so another engineering program at a HBCU. So
yes, I love that. Love it, love it, love it. And that it was at an HBCU. So that summer experience at those HBCUs did you think that helped you choose an HBCU when it came down to choosing
absolutely. And it was kind of intentional. So I'm from the Cape. I'm from Falmouth, and it's not very diverse there. So people in my family have gone to HBCUs for a long time. My grandmother went to Dillard. My dad went to Morgan State. My mom actually, she's from outside of Boston. She didn't go to an HBCU. Her sister did. Went to Tuskegee, but my mom kind of always, I think, regretted it a little bit. So she kind of wanted to say, just something to think about. So I think when I went to the Bay Area conference with her, we went by the HBCU booths too, and kind of got the brochures and that kind of thing. Kind of talked to people there representing the universities. So she knew what she was doing, and sure enough, it was a chance for me to go, out of my comfort zone. And it was a new place. I didn't know anyone there, and it was summer school, so I was a bit apprehensive to go because I'm going to this new place, and I'm going to class, for 6 to 8 weeks in the summertime. Why would I want to do that? But I mean, I got down there and was just like, wow, this is different, and I love it. So that definitely opened my eyes to go into an HBCU. If I hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have. It was very influential.
Okay, that's great. Same question from you, Sheldon, and I love your shirt, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Shout out. I think it's called Heritage Hill. They're a Black-owned company. Make a lot of HBCU stuff, fraternity stuff as well. So hey, if you went to one, or if you like the gear, check them out. But yeah, I think HBCUs were in my blood basically. Both of my parents went to Tennessee State. My mom's sister, they were like a year apart. She went to Tennessee State, and her husband went to Tennessee State. So I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and Tennessee State's in Nashville. So, I grew up going to all the football games. We would go to, the home games. We go to homecoming. Both of my parents were Greek. My mom's an AK and my dad's an Alpha. So, I mean, I just grew up around that atmosphere and kind of grew a love for it that way. Parents super big in education, so had to go somewhere where that was going to fit my major. And I guess I didn't really know what I wanted to do growing up, but I was always good with math. So my parents were like, well, engineering or computer science, those would probably be good fields, come out, make a good career out of that. So I was like, maybe I'll look into that. I don't think I really went to any summer programs. I was going to summer school, not for remedial, but just to get advanced,
Okay.
Got to stay ahead of the game. So they were always putting me in summer programs so that I, stay ahead of the curve. But so I liked math, and engineering just kind of fit with that. And before going into college, I actually did go to an engineering prep.
Okay.
Before going into freshman year, and I went to that at Tennessee State. Even though I ended up completely going against the family and went to Florida A&M after everybody else went to Tennessee State. But I eventually came back and went there for grad school. So
right. So what made you choose FAMU?
Well, I kind of wanted to just get out of Tennessee. I was there my whole life. I wanted to see something new. I was always kind of drawn to Florida at the time. Florida State was like a big school in football, and I liked their program. And actually, the school was right down the street, so just kind of gravitated towards FAMU. I went down there, loved the campus, loved the people. So, it's kind of once I was there, solidified my choice.
Okay. We actually have a comment from one of our audience members. from Miss Franklin. Deborah, thank you so much for joining. Deborah usually is here every week. She's faithful to the show, so I really appreciate that. And as she said, she hopes students did take advantage of some of the online courses that they had. I know I was putting them out, letting people know this is available, especially if it was free. That's always a nice price point. So again, Deborah, I'm hoping the same thing, that students did take advantage of some of these online programs and some of the ones that will still be running this coming summer, because I've already have seen quite a few that will be virtual this year. So tell me a little bit, Martin, about, so once you got to your HBCU, because you came from a pretty white community.
Right.
Being from New England, I understand what it's like where you grew up. So how was the transition for you?
So it certainly helped, like I said, going to the summer programs, because I think there is that apprehensive. So I'll kind of revert back to what I said about my mom and her regrets. So my grandmother pitched to her, hey, consider an HBCU. And my mom kind of had this apprehension, like, I'm not around Black people that much. I'm around my family. She had family around the Boston area, but I mean, that's about it. So there's that apprehension. You're going from one environment where, you stand out because of how you look, but you're comfortable there because that's what you've been around your whole life. So you go to this new environment where, everyone looks like you, but there's not that comfort level. Right. So that was a bit of a deterrent for her. And I was like, well, you know what, me going to the summer programs allowed me to get over that hurdle. But as far as like going away, I mean, I knew I was going away. I mean, I applied to FAMU, I applied to A&T, and I applied to Howard. And so it was all HBCUs. I'm sorry, I applied to Georgia Tech too. I applied to, so I take that back. I applied to Georgia Tech. But the HBCUs were at the top of my list. And I picked A&T because I liked the campus. Greensboro's like a college city. It's not super urban, but I mean, there's schools all over the place. And then within driving distance, I mean, you've got, Chapel Hill, Duke, NC State, Wake Forest. I can run down the whole list. I mean, I felt that comfort level. And I mean, I got a nice scholarship there too. I got a scholarship to Howard as well, but DC's cool, but it wasn't really like what I was looking for at the time. Okay. So I went to A&T, and I mean, it was a great decision. I had no second thoughts. I mean, I remember like leaving my house to go down there with my family, and I thought I was gonna be more nervous and like be more anxious, but I wasn't. I just felt like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I got there. I'm just like, I'm gonna enjoy myself here, and I'm gonna, I feel like I'm gonna develop as an individual, develop as a engineer, and just develop as a young man. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
No, you did. No, you did. You did. Remember, this is just a conversation. This isn't, that's why I don't like sending out, I don't send out questions ahead of time, because it really is your experience. And it's so important for people to hear your experience from your point of view, without me giving you like leading questions. Like, these are the only questions that we want to hear. Really want to hear what was it like for you? And what I love is the contrast between the environments that you grew up in and how you both, went to HBCUs for different reasons, and you're both like working in the same place now, which is like so weird, but that's so cool. So, Sheldon, tell me a little bit about your story and going on to FAMU.
Yeah, so I mean, Nashville's pretty diverse, but I'd say growing up, I still went to more predominantly white schools. I mean, I went to private school till like 4th grade, and then 5th through 8th, I kind of went out and left private school, and I was in other schools, which were a little more mixed. But in high school, that was definitely predominantly white. So kind of like Martin, when I was first thinking about it, I was like a little apprehensive, like, am I going to fit in, going to hang out and be with, I mean, it was like, I never saw anybody other than Black people. That freshman year, there was probably 2 white people that I knew. So was I going to be ready for that? I mean, a lot of my good friends, obviously, that I hung out with in the neighborhood were all Black, and, my family and all that stuff. So I was comfortable, but it was like, I've never been predominantly
Right.
in a space with nothing but my people. But when I got there, it was like I was home, and it was like the best decision that I made. It's like you didn't have to, you could just be yourself, although the noise was kind of like blocked out, and you could just be there, be yourself, and just learn. So you didn't have to worry about, trying to compete or anything. But so once I got there, it just felt comfortable.
Yeah, I love that. I had a conversation last year with one of my former colleagues, Richard Martin. We were both social studies teachers together in East Providence High School in Rhode Island. And we did a talk on color in the classroom. And we talked about, and we asked people, when was the first time you had a Black teacher? Like for me, it wasn't until 7th grade. I forgot what Richard's answers was, but we talked about how students, sometimes you can't be what you don't see. Like if you don't see people that look like you doing that type of work, you may not know that's a possibility. Especially for me, I was a first generation college student. So there wasn't anyone before me to show me what that looked like. On the flip side, we also talked about how important it was for our white students to see a Black teacher in the classroom, to understand that, yes, Black people are teachers too. I remember one time talking with my students. I used, teaching an U.S. history class, and we were talking about the civil rights era and all the different laws that were passed and stuff. And I said, do you realize that if some of that hadn't happened, before the Jim Crow laws were set down, before Brown versus the Board of Education, I said, I wouldn't have been your teacher. I said, I would not have been able to stand in front of this classroom to be your teacher if Brown versus the Board of Education never happened. And they were like, what? Well, why? That doesn't make sense. I said, that's history. I said, that's our history. I said, and that's only a small part of it. So again, I think it's so important that Black and brown students and white students see folks that are Black and brown from all different professions. So I am so thrilled that both of you are here. And the other thing is, there's been such a resurgence of interest in HBCUs. Of course, I think a lot of it has to do with our current vice president. It was like people heard of Howard for the first time, even though everybody else knows. I was like, whoa, Howard, that's great. And all of a sudden there's all this, like I said, this resurgent interest in HBCUs. So tell me, so Sheldon, you talked about being in a space where there were, everybody looked like you. I mean, to me, that would be amazing. Growing up, I didn't hear a lot about HBCUs, didn't know a whole lot about HBCUs. Plus, I didn't want to go too far from my mother because I was like a mama's girl. And there weren't any HBCUs in Rhode Island or in New England. So I had to stay where I was. So tell me, so what would you say to a young person that was thinking about an HBCU?
You have your whole life to be a minority. So why not go and experience and be amongst your people, get a great education? Because these schools are still at the top of the list as well. And just, that's something that I just am grateful that I did, is because now I'm in a field where, again, it's back to the status quo. Like, I'm probably the only Black person that's in the meeting. So, you have your whole life to be a minority. Why don't you just go ahead and enjoy yourself, get a good education, and you're going to learn stuff. Because, there's things that they offer that you're not going to get at your predominantly white school. We had to take African-American history as a requirement. Like, you couldn't graduate without that.
Okay.
I also took African-American film and all these other things that probably would have never taken if I had to go into another school, and learned so much about, history, that things that they kind of try to sweep under the rug and trying to make laws now to not even teach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. What about you, Martin?
I would say one of the takeaways from my experience, I've heard other people say it, is it's HBCUs are very much like a nurturing environment where people take a vested interest in you and your success. And you notice that whether it's the faculty, whether it's the professors, whether it's people working in the buildings, you know, because sometimes you need to get in good with the admin to get, you know, getting that core set filled up and make sure you get in there, things like that. Or whether it's your classmates, it's very much I guess, you know, we're all gonna support each other and lift each other up. And, you know, you're not gonna have the chance to fail. I'll put it to you like that. You'll get in your, as you advance and matriculate, you know, you'll have your like, you know, your core classmates if you're going to engineering, because you're going to see the same faces all the time in these classes. But I mean, it's like a tight-knit group, and they're going to make sure, you know, you guys are studying together, you guys are, you know, hanging out together, but they're going to make sure that you know, you're ready for whether it be a class, whether it be homework, whether it be a test, whether it be beyond your college career. They're going to support you. And I don't know, you know, I didn't go to, you know, always go for undergrad, but I can tell you that at an HBCU that they're going to nurture you, they're going to support you, they're going to lift you up, they're not going to let you fall. I can say that with confidence. And like I said, I've heard other people say that as well, that we look out for each other, you know, inside those walls and beyond, you know, into the professional realms. So I would say that. And I would say too, I mean, like, if you're thinking about an HBCU, go visit. I mean, like, I would say, go visit more than once. Time you visit, you know, maybe you go check out a homecoming. I mean, because let me give you a little taste. I mean, it's fun, but like, I can say for you, like, one of the like the most memorable experiences, like for me, I mean, I was already attending A&T at this point, was my first homecoming at HBCU, where there was like 100,000 Black people just in this one place. It was incredible. I was like, I remember just stopping to look around, and I was like, I've never seen this many Black people in one place before. It was an amazing sight. So just to experience that, it was impactful. And that was me already being there. So had I seen that when I was in high school, I would have been like, sign me up now. So it was that. And also, I mean, I would also say visit like during like a calmer time where you can kind of go into the, you know, check out the campus and, you know, so maybe sitting around a class, you know, maybe talk to professors, that kind of thing too. So you kind of get that, you get a little taste of that nurturing environment that I spoke of. But I would say definitely, you know, do your research and, you know, go out and get on campus and witness it with your own eyes and kind of develop, I guess, assessment based on that.
Okay. Sheldon, one of the things that you said that I really loved was when you talked about you have your whole life to be a minority. You have your whole life to be a minority of one in the workplace and what have you. So here's an opportunity to be in a space where it's a safe space. People look like you. And I think sometimes people think there isn't diversity at a HBCU because of race. But when you think about the diversity of class, you think about the diversity of geographical locations where people come from. So there is diversity at HBCUs, but I really love what you said about you have your whole life to step into these spaces where you know you're the only one, or one of two, or you can count all of you on one hand. So I love you saying that. So what else would you say to someone that was thinking about it? Like what were some of the activities that you had the opportunity to engage in? I know Martin just talked about homecoming. What are some of the things that you would point out that really stood out for you beyond your classes and what have you?
Yeah, well, you know, as engineers, we were studying all the time, but still found some time to have fun as well. I mean, at FAMU, we like to say we had the best homecoming. Martin might dispute me on that, but we're probably, I mean, I think at the time when I went there, I think we were the biggest Black college, but I think A&T has us now. I think y'all have more than us. But yeah, I mean, the homecomings are something else. You know, I'm trying to see. Outside of that, I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't in too many like other activities that weren't engineering based. I mean, I was in like NSB, you know, those kind of societies.
So talk about NSB. You know, I've talked about that with students I know that were interested in engineering, and I know that in some places there's a high school chapter. So I've been like really pushing my students who are interested in engineering to join that association. So tell folks a little bit about that for folks that don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just a good organization to network. I mean, you meet a lot of people. Also, like when you're trying to, you know, move into the career after college, I mean, there's all these good, every year there's a national convention So I think Martin mentioned, I think Martin was talking about Bea, but as well as Nesby, they have all the vendors that come out, all the companies, and you can go out there, interview, get your resumes out there. So it's a good way to move from your college career into your work career, because you have those networks, you have these events, and you know, it also just helps build character and stuff like that. But they also have grad chapters or professional chapters that you can join after you're done with school and still do things in the community. You know, try to go into the schools, tutoring, doing things like I think Martin mentioned before we came on, the Lego robotics, things like that. So, you know, always trying to pass down this knowledge to the up and coming youth and get them interested in math and science.
Right. I had one of my students who is now a junior at the University of Michigan, who's Black. I remember I said to him, I said, and there actually was a high school chapter in his state. So I strongly encouraged him his senior year to join. And when he followed through and he joined and continued with it when he went on to college. So we had connected on LinkedIn during his first year. And I noticed he had this upcoming internship. And I said, you know, messaged him on LinkedIn. I said, how did you get this internship? This is pretty neat. He said, oh, you know that association you made me join? I said, I didn't make you join it. I just suggested it. He goes, well, I joined, and then I had an opportunity to go to one of their conferences. And he said, and going to that conference, and like you were saying, you know, going around to the tables that, you know, that Martin was saying earlier, when he went to a conference, going around to the tables and talking to the companies, he had the opportunity to talk to different companies and got an internship. And so he just goes all the time. So that's really cool. So again, I think that's good. Are there other associations? So I think I noticed another association on your LinkedIn profile, Sheldon.
Probably like IEEE, was that on there? Yeah. I mean, that's just the standard electrical engineering association. So, you know, I was in that. Actually, when I was in grad school, I went to some conferences and was able to present my thesis at the time. So, I mean, it's also a good networking association as well. But that's just a general engineering one.
Okay. So we have a question here from Michelle Bird. Michelle is one of our regular viewers. She actually, her daughter actually is a student at Fayetteville State University, at HBCU here, where I am. And Michelle is saying that some people don't believe that HBCUs prepare them for the real world. So what would you say about that?
I don't know. I mean, go Martin.
Well, you spoke to the diversity. I mean, schools is like, I mean, you go to an HBCU, obviously you're going to expect to see a majority of the student body to be Black, but so you don't necessarily have the diversity of races, but you have the diversity of, I'd say, ideas, diversity of perspectives, things of that nature. So I mean, I guess you have the benefit of people looking like you, but just because everyone looks like you doesn't mean they have the same perspective on things, same opinion on things. So I don't think that's gonna limit your ability in the real world when you go out and have to present an environment where it's less diverse, or where you're standing out because you're Black versus a professional environment that's not as Black. I'll say. So I think there's still diversity. Just it's not a matter of color; it's a matter of perspectives and ideas and that kind of thing.
Okay. Sheldon, did you want to add anything to that? Thank you, Michelle, for that question.
I think anybody that went to a HBCU would say that that financial aid office, the drama and that waiting in there and all the stuff that you had to go through to figure out your stuff. I mean, it was life lessons. I mean, everything didn't come easy, sometimes there. So I feel like, you learn some of those lessons in life where things aren't handed to you. You got to work for things. So, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that you're not going to be prepared. Like Martin said, there's so many different people out there. I mean, we had people from DC, people from Detroit, Chicago, and these people had different life experiences and were not like me at all. So, I mean, I learned a lot from everybody that I met there. So, it'll get you ready. I mean,
definitely.
The vice president was ready, right?
Sure was. Sure was. She was ready. Stacey Abrams was ready.
Yeah.
The mayor of Atlanta was ready.
Yeah.
Senator Warlock was ready. We've got a lot of folks that were ready. Definitely. Like I said, it seems like, it was the best kept secret for the longest time, but from everybody else.
Right.
But it is interesting. So Martin, and I'll get back to you, Sheldon. So Martin, tell me what type of internships did you have while you were in college, and what organizations or student organizations did you belong to?
So I was also in part of NSBE. I was part of ASME, American Society of Mechanical Engineers. Those are the main two. Outside of mechanical, there's like IEEE is another big one. As far as internships, so I interned, let's see, I think my first 2 summers I did summer school one of the summers, and when I wanted to go home, so I ended up interning at the National Marine Fisheries Service, which is in Woods Hole, not far from where I grew up. Both my parents actually worked there. My dad did at the time, so I worked there just as a stay close home after my freshman year, kind of relax, and then kind of got into internships more later in my career. I interned at Raytheon, where I ended up coming back as a full-time employee. But those are the 2 main ones. But you have a ton of opportunities for internships. One thing that they do there regularly on campus is they have info sessions, where what you have is companies, major ones, come on campus and they say, hey, we're hosting an event at a certain time, we'll say 6 p.m. And they always have food, but pizza, I don't know, Bojangles, since we're in North Carolina, so I mentioned that. But basically food to kind of bait people and have them come to the events, and that would get packed houses, and kids will come and they say, hey, here's a rundown of our company, what we do, and we're doing interviews for internships, we're doing interviews for full-time positions. So you couldn't miss hearing about these opportunities. They post posters and flyers all over the building. So I mean, there was no way to miss these events going on. So I mean, that got a lot of my friends and a lot of other students internships. So I mean, I can tell you, at least at A&T, and I'm sure that's the case at other Black schools, that you'll have a chance to get into the professional field through an internship, given those companies' willingness to invest in Black engineers. And then, as we spoke of earlier, the Bay Area Conference and NSBE Conference, you have that opportunity too, because I know for us, we were taking bus loads, we were taking bus trips up to those conferences. And beforehand, we were doing resume prep, courses. We were doing interview prep courses. They were beyond your curriculum, but I mean, those are things that were, we'll say evening classes kind of things, where you prepare to, hey, if you happen to catch someone's interest at a career fair, you have a crisp resume they can get through quickly, and you're ready for an interview to present yourself in the best light possible, so you can get a professional opportunity when you get out of school.
Okay, great. Sheldon, did you? I know you mentioned that your parents belong to Divine Nine. How about you? Did you pledge?
Yeah, I did. I'm actually Alpha, but I ended up doing grad chapter. But yeah,
okay.
Had to go ahead and do it as well. So that was definitely one of the things that growing up, all their best friends were pretty much in the fraternity, sorority, or their line mates. So yeah, ended up in 06, spring of 06. So it was the centennial year. So that was pretty cool. I was able to cross that year. But yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. In one of the organizations I belong to, the Independent Educational Consultants Association, we've been talking with folks about the Divine Nine, and it's just always so interesting how little folks know about the Divine Nine, and they know and don't know the historical significance of the sororities and fraternities, and don't understand the oh my God, the closeness. It's a family. So one of my best friends lives in California, and she's AKA, and she also pledged the grad chapter when she did so. And there are some times when we're talking that I'm just so jealous because I didn't pledge anything. And she keeps saying, it's not too late. You can still do it. I'm like, no. I'm not putting another thing on my plate. But when I'm talking with her, or she's telling me about an event, or I'm looking at something they're doing online, I'm just like, man, you know. And I remember going to a relative's wedding, and actually she was Delta. I know, Delta, AKA, but seeing how her sorors came together, the whole ceremony they do at the wedding where they surround her in a circle and sing. Oh my God, that was like so emotional for me. And I said, I didn't belong, but it was like incredible. It was incredible. And I don't think people
definitely a family, yeah.
Yes.
What you go through, and after you come out on the other end, you guys are together for life. But,
yes. Yeah. So it's really, so I always talk to my kids who are considering HBCUs. I said, talk to somebody that joined a sorority or a fraternity, see if that's something for you, know the history of them and why they're important, just like know the history of HBCUs. Sometimes I get questions from people like, okay, so, Black folks can go to any college they want, or they can apply to any college they want. So why do we still need HBCUs? And that's always, I'm like, okay, here we go. Why do we still need HBCUs? And I love what both of you said about the nurturing, the family environment. That's why I love what you said, Sheldon, about, you're going to be a minority your whole life. So here's an opportunity to be around people. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine what that would have felt like. I had the opportunity to go to Hampton's graduation about 4 years ago now, I guess. And one of my students was in the nursing program there. And I told her, I said, you graduate in 4 years, I'm going to be at your graduation. So I went, and it was the year that Ruth Carter was the commencement speaker. And Ruth Carter was the costume designer for the Black Panther.
Nice.
And she's a Hampton alum.
Wow.
But being there on that campus that weekend, I was like a kid in a candy store. It was like amazing. I said, this is what I've missed my whole life. Like, this is like crazy. This is crazy. So it was, so I'm telling students, look, check it out. And I love what you said, Martin, about, go visit, get on the campuses, see what it's like. I've been doing my own personal professional development around learning more about HBCU. So right now I'm immersed in learning as much as I can about Spelman. So like, I'm on their YouTube channel, I'm on their website, I'm reading articles and stuff that come along about them and making my way through, I don't know if I'll get through all 107 still, but I'm making my way through to, so I can talk intelligently about them when students have those questions, because I think that's so important to be able to do that. So what else would you say to students or to families who are thinking about HBCUs, who are thinking about engineering? What else about your experience would you like to share with folks?
So I'll say, at least for my experience at A&T, it's an HBCU, but I mean, our classes were, diverse. I had a decent amount of professors I had some who were Middle Eastern, I had some who were white, I had some who were, actually I had a fair amount who were white. I had, I'm trying to think, it was a very diverse faculty and diverse student body. Our engineering courses, it was maybe 50% Black, and then the rest was made up of, white students, Asian students. So it wasn't necessarily, I guess, as Black as some people would expect. I know with A&T, it has such a prestigious engineering reputation that, there's people from North Carolina who just say, hey, I want to go to the engineering school in the area, and I don't care what I look like, I'm going to A&T because one, it's low cost. That is, I don't know what the tuition is now, but I know that's always a big factor is the price. These HBCUs tend to be a little bit less expensive than your predominantly white colleges. So, that's something to keep in mind, because money matters, obviously, and tuition is not going down anytime soon. So that's certainly something to consider. But I would just say, find someone who's experienced that, whose opinion you value, and go to them and ask them questions. You see our names in here, reach out to myself reach out. I'm volunteering Sheldon now, but reach out to Sheldon. Reach out to us and ask us questions, and do your research, and like I said, get out there and visit them, because I think from what I've seen, I mean, I've rarely heard someone say, "Hey, I wish I didn't go to an HBCU." In fact, I've never heard anyone say, "I wish I didn't go to an HBCU." Mm-hmm. I've had friends who started there, because a lot of people, they go for freshman year, and and for whatever reason they don't come back, and then they go to a different school and they say, "I shouldn't have left." Yeah. Or they come back and they say, they end up changing their mind, like, I had it good here. I thought the grass was greener, and it wasn't. I'm back here. I'm re-enrolling. I got lost some credits, but I'm back. So right. I think it's worthwhile, like I said, do your research, and talk to people, and I think you'll find out it's something worth pursuing. At least something worth considering, but something worth pursuing, in my opinion.
Yes. At least consider it. Don't write it off entirely. What I love what you said is about you have a diverse faculty, and also I think people sometimes get it in their heads that, oh, it's an HBCU, it's for Black students only. And I'm like, no, HBCUs are not about keeping people out.
Right.
HBCUs developed because white folks kept us out of their institutions.
Right.
That's why they developed. But we did not create HBCUs in order to keep people out. It's about letting people in. Right. So yes, if there's someone out there that is not melanated and wants to attend an HBCU, you can apply. No, you can apply. Yep. And you won't be, you're going to get your education. It's not going to be any different. And what you said about a lower cost, HBCUs do tend to have a lower cost of attendance. So again, if that's an issue, do so. Look at what their scholarships are. Now, I know at A&T, they have that Cheatham White Scholarship.
They sure do.
Which is a full ride scholarship, full cost of attendance. So it's paying for your tuition, room and board, books, everything. It's a fantastic scholarship. So I know that one's at A&T, and it's also at North Carolina Central. So again, folks, you need to look into these schools. You need to look into these schools. So Sheldon, what would you add to that conversation about HBCUs?
So also going to FAM, my engineering experience was a little bit unique, because actually we have a separate engineering school with Florida State. So once you got into those courses, it was completely off campus, not on either FAM or Florida State's campus. It was a kind of a 50-50 split. So I was actually in there with Florida State students, white, Hispanic, what have you. So I did get the diversity there, and obviously the faculty was very diverse, but I did have some Black teachers as well in engineering. But yeah, so you did get your mix there, but as soon as I went on for the NM's campus, it was a different picture. But right. Yeah, I mean, and if you want to get into engineering, I mean, you definitely have to have a passion for numbers. So, I mean, if that's something you're into, then, it'll be up your alley, but it's not for the faint of heart. I probably tried to quit at least 2 times, but my parents won't let me do it. So, and now I'm came out on the other end. So, yeah.
Right. So tell me, how did you both land your positions at Raytheon? So tell me about the work, because Sheldon, you're a systems engineer, and Martin, you're a mechanical engineer. So Sheldon, tell people, what does a systems engineer do?
So systems engineer, it's several things that we do, but so we're kind of like the upfront and the end of the whole development cycle. So the systems engineers, they're the architecture, the requirements, coming up with the design for what the system's going to be. So, we come up with the requirements, and if it's a software system, then we're handing off our requirements to the software engineers. They go and implement our design. Then after the implementation is done, it comes back to the systems engineers, and we do the integration, where that is now we're putting the software onto the hardware. We're in the lab, we're integrating all of those things together and testing it. And then we do the last validation testing. So it's kind of the beginning and the end. We the design, we hand it off for people to do the implementation, and then we come back and we test our design to make sure that it actually meets the requirements that we wrote, and that's how we sell it off to the customer.
Okay.
So,
okay, because there are so many fields of engineering, and students just say, I want to be an engineer, and then there's all these disciplines within it. So
yeah,
Mark,
systems is not really even, you won't see that probably in many undergrads unless they're starting to get those now. I'm not sure, but it's more, you might be able to get a systems engineering master's, but it's kind of a learned on the job field. And some companies don't even let you go into systems engineering until you've actually worked in mechanical or electrical for a while and learned enough knowledge to move on to know the bigger picture.
Okay, that's important to know. That is important to know. So thank you for sharing that. So Martin, tell us about your work as an electrical engineer.
So I'd say, so I think mechanical is like the most broad, I'd say, of the engineering.
Mechanical, I'm sorry, I said electrical.
No problem. I'd say it's the most broad of the engineering. So to the point, it could be something as, I shouldn't say simple, but something as, I guess, hands-on as manufacturing, whether you're on the floor and we have these things called manufacturing routers, where we're saying, how are we going to build this product? What are the steps involved in building this product, and basically what's the outcome of this product? And once we get it through that manufacturing process, we need to test it, test its thermodynamic capabilities, test its abilities in certain environments, things of that nature. So there's that level. There's, I'd say, the early stages of design, where if we're going from a design that we're coming with, okay, we need to innovate a concept. What are the must-haves? What are the requirements of this design? What does it need to be able to do? And figuring out how do we get this on paper? How do we take this from paper to a 3D design that we can present to a potential customer, and then actually building it. So it's very much I guess roots to branches kind of process. There's research and design elements. So I'll say there's a lot of it for, I'd say, early engineers is design based, and it's a lot of 3D design using programs like Pro Engineer, SolidWorks, things like that. We're actually designing stuff on your computer. Then the nice thing now is we have 3D printers. So say you want to design, I'll say like a torpedo. I mean, no one's going to design a torpedo for themselves, but for the sake of discussion, I'll say you want to design a torpedo, and you can 3D design this thing on your computer. The nose, the body, the tail, that kind of thing. You design it. Now, obviously, this design you're doing, you're taking into consideration all the design requirements, all the necessities of what the design needs to be, and you're ultimately saying, "Hey, here's my finished product. I'm going to produce a 3D model," and you can say, "Hey, here's what it's going to look like," and then you're going to go through a field design review and say, "Hey, we like this design. We're going to build it now. Okay, how do we make this happen?" And then it goes back to, I said, the manufacturing process. So it's layered, it's involved, it's broad. But I mean, I've had the chance to do a little bit of everything as far as all the options in mechanical engineering. So I'd say if you have, I guess, a wide, expansive interest, it's probably a good field for you to get into.
Okay, I thank both of you for those descriptions, because for people with non-engineering backgrounds, that's really helpful for people to kind of visualize what it is that they may be doing, what they may be studying. Again, Sheldon, I love when you said, if you're not into your science and math, that it's not for the weak of heart. I love that. I think about it. I could not
after that
year because math
sophomore year, a few people you saw,
yeah,
didn't see a few folks that you came in with.
Oh, okay.
In the year, freshman's not too bad, because freshman you're doing your general stuff. Second semester, I mean, you get some stuff, but then sophomore year, that's when it gets real. You get your engineering courses, and then it starts to separate the slackers from the success stories, so to speak. And some people are hanging on the middle. First semester, sophomore, you're in the kind of the middle. It can go either way. Second semester, and then it's like, then you kind of see a little more separation. That's why I said it's, by the time you get to junior year, it's very much a core group you're going to see in class together. You're going to see the same folks all the time. I mean, y'all are going to get tight. I mean, y'all are going to be studying together. Y'all going to be up all night together. You guys get through an exam together. You guys are going to celebrate together. So it's tight knit for a reason, because it's not that many of us.
Right.
Definitely. There was definitely a few people that I made sure to take courses with. And this one, my one study girl, like, had to take classes with her. But yeah, we held each other down, you know.
That's the thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
The one time I got a higher score on her in the test made my day, because she was brilliant. She like started college like a year early. So,
Right.
but yeah.
She was that curve buster. There's always that
Yeah,
one thing.
she was that one.
curve.
But that one time I beat her, I felt good about myself.
And you know, and I think what both of you just said about, you know, finding your people and having that tight study group is so important, because I think sometimes people think, okay, you go off to college and, you know, you just got to tough it out and get it done and what have you. Find people to help you get through.
Yeah.
Find people, do those study groups. There is no shame to that game. Get right out there, you know. And I was talking to my student that's at Michigan. I asked him the first year, I said, so tell me, how did you get through? Because he was talking about organic chemistry and how difficult it was. He goes, we had a study group. He goes, we had a serious study group, and everybody had certain things they had to study and bring to the group, and then we would teach each other. And I said, okay. I said, all right, that's good. That's good. So again, I think that's so important, because sometimes students think, you know, it's a sign of weakness to ask for help. And it's, to me, it's a sign of weakness not to ask for help.
Right.
Definitely, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely get those study groups. I mean, I probably didn't take advantage of it as much, but hey, go to your professors, go to their office hours. When you're showing effort, then they'll remember you at the end of the semester, you know. So
Right.
Two critical words in engineering: partial credit.
Yeah,
that stuff matters.
Yeah.
Partial credit.
Yeah.
You get to go to the professor. You know, he's, you know, say you got a 3-question test. You know, you get you know, I'll say 30% or 30, you know, points on a question that's worth 33 versus like 25 could be, you know, the professor seeing your face a lot and kind of understand how you think and say, oh, I know what they're going for here. And then they give you the benefit of the doubt. So yeah, get a good professors. They're willing to help a lot of the time. Or the point to a TA who's willing to help, because TAs are very helpful too.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I'm glad you said that about office hours, because, you know, I've had this conversation with students about going to office hours and the importance of going to office hours, especially when I work with first generation students, because sometimes, you know, the kids get into college, but they don't know how to do college. Yeah. You know, that's something totally different. So unless somebody is explaining to them the importance of office hours, and that it's not about, you don't want to bother the professor. That's why the professor's there. That's why they have office hours. And like you said, Martin, they see your face frequently. That's going to help you more than anything, you know. So I think that's so good to point that out. So one of the things I always like to do, because I love books. For folks out there that know me, they know libraries are like my happy place, libraries and bookstores, but especially libraries. So I always like to feature a book for folks. So one of the books I have, I don't know if either of you have a book that you particularly enjoy, but this is one that I think it's called the HBCU Experience, the book. It's a collection of essays celebrating the Black college experience. So it's people who attended and graduated from HBCUs, doing similar to what you just did. They each provided a chapter talking about their experience at an HBCU and why it was a good place for them to be. So as I said, there are 16 HBCUs that are profiled in here. Actually, schools that you guys also attended are in here. So this information I always put in my show notes afterwards, so people want to go back and look at that information. If they want to buy the book, they can buy the book. If they want to learn, you know, hear again what you had to say, they can hear it again. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, how could they do that?
Yeah, I guess probably email is the best way, you know.
Okay.
The email is Sheldon Greene with the E at the end, 81@gmail.com.
Okay. And what about you, Martin?
I'm mhmfoster@gmail.com.
Okay. So again, I'm going to put those in the show notes. So make sure, so people, If you have a student that you know is interested in engineering and is definitely interested in attending a HBCU, you have two engineers right here who, between the two of them, have degrees from 3 HBCUs. They're working at one of the world-renowned companies in the United States and the world, Raytheon. I mean, you know, you'd have to be under a rock to not have heard of Raytheon. You don't have to be from New England to know about Raytheon. It's worldwide in its reputation. So any books that you would consider?
I have one, but it's not really an HBCU book, but I'm gonna like.
That's okay.
I guess I can kind of tie it into the experience. So right now I'm reading Hustle and Motivate, which is a Nipsey Hussle biography. So anyone who doesn't know Nipsey Hussle, he was a well-known West Coast rapper. He was murdered almost 2 years ago, actually outside of a store that he had developed himself in a very, basically tried to uplift the community that he grew up in. And in reading the book, and if you kind of know about him, just a brilliant dude. I mean, just a lot of motivation to self-educate himself. And he has this exterior where you see him and you see, you know, this gangster rapper, you see the braids, the beard, the face tats, and the hoodies and the chains, and you think like, you know, this guy's a thug. But like behind that cover is just I should say was just a deep, highly intelligent, motivated, and a dude invested in his community, invested in the well-being and in the growth of himself and those around him. And I can say for me, like when I went to A&T and got there, you see folks who look like Nipsey. You know, you just figure, oh, they're here to party, they're here to goof around. They aren't really, you know, that smart. And then I realized, like, these dudes are killing me on these tests. Like, I mean, they look a certain way, but they're just like super smart. And like he was coming from rough environments. Right. But I mean, like, you know, to quote Tupac, another rapper, you know, the rose that grew from concrete. Didn't come from the best background, best environment, but like they're saying, you know, regardless of any obstacles I had to climb, anything in my way, I'm going to make a success of myself. Right. And that was what I saw at A&T was when I talked about the diversity of how people look, and not necessarily having a book that goes to the cover, because you see this exterior. And I mean, like, you know, I'm Black, but I'm judging people based on what I see. But then I get to know them. I get to be around class with them. I'm like, these folks are brilliant, and you know, you wouldn't know it from looking at them just because, you know, I made a judgment and that kind of thing, and it tied into Nipsey. So it's just like that book kind of brought me back to that first HBCU environment experience, and seeing people thinking a certain way about them and realizing that wasn't the case, and they're really highly intelligent, self-educated people who are motivated and determined to make successes of themselves. So that's the book I'm reading right now. It's a Nipsey Hustle and Motivate. All
right, that's great. Okay, so Martin, you just gave me another book to put on my list. So I'm in trouble here because I have. If you could just see this space around me, I'm so glad you can't see it. There are piles of books everywhere that every time somebody recommends a book, I'm like, oh, I got to get that. So I'm really working on using my library skills better and getting the book from the library so I can actually take it back, because I'm running out of space to store any more books. But I thank you for that. And you said people that don't know his story really need to. Was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. Sheldon, any book on your part? I mean, and you don't have to. Don't feel pressured.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm slacking. I need to get Martin's reading list. I got the two youngins, so it's hard to do any reading. I think the last book I read was a parenting book, which I don't know if that's helping too much, but
I know that's right.
That's gonna learn on the job training, right? And
oh yeah,
you know, and it was, I mean, actually, after I went to my 2 HBCUs, I actually went to Northeastern in Boston and got another master's in leadership. So there was I can't remember the name, but there was several leadership books that I've read at the time, but I could get those for you and put it in if you're putting a list together. But yeah, I need to definitely find some time to get back to the books.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be one that you're currently reading. I mean, I'm always recommending books. Some books I maybe read them 5 or 6 years ago, but their story is still so relevant today. I'm just like I just want folks to read. I'm all about just reading. Pick up something and read. That's what you need to do. So one of our viewers said she loves it. It's a parent book that you're reading. So yeah, still relevant.
Get all the help you can get.
Yes. Yes.
My 3-year-old runs the house though. So.
That is so true. That is so true. So I thank both of you so much for being here because, I have to shout out to Dwayne, who always has my back and is always trying to help his mom out. He's probably saying, "Oh Lord, here she goes talking about me." Yeah, I can't get him to come on, so that's why you guys. So you're his stand-in. Yeah, he won't. He said he thinks it's too weird to be online with his mother. So okay, that's just how it is.
Man, but I think.
Say that again.
I was saying to him, "Come in, get on here."
I know, right. I know. He should. But I thank both of you so much because the information that you both shared is going to help somebody out there. There's somebody that's going to see this video who is going to say, yeah, okay, that's what I want to do, or that's a school I want to think about putting on my list, or at least, like Martin said, at least consider going to an HBCU. And again, like I said, I think it's important for people to understand the possibilities that are out there for them. And I really, truly believe that you need to see what you can be. You really do. And I think both of you are such fantastic role models for young Black students that are out there thinking about, what am I going to do after high school? What do I do with this interest in math and science? What does that look like for me? So I thank you both so much for taking time out of your crazy busy days. And I know with having young children, it's so hard to find time to do anything because you come from work and you've got your family there. So that's tough. So I do appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I thank everybody for joining in. Michelle and Deborah, I thank you so much because you guys kind of join in every week. So what'll happen? So folks who are watching this on a replay, thank you for joining in, and you can still send in your questions or comments that you have for me. Those of you that didn't catch this on Facebook, it also will be hosted on my YouTube channel. And so I'll have that link in there for you. And in a couple of, maybe in about another week or so, the video will also be up on LinkedIn so people can look at it there. Next week, we have another entrepreneur who will be joining us. He did not attend to HBCU, but he's going to be talking about esports. And that's something that I don't think people realize how big of a deal that has become in the college world. So we'll definitely be hearing from Caleb Smith next week about esports. So again, thank you everyone for tuning into College and Career Conversations with Dr. B, the HBCU experience. Hopefully this is just part one of the HBCU experience, and we'll continue bringing folks to you to talk about their experiences, to talk about their career pathways, and just to give you information to help you make an informed decision. So gentlemen, again, thank you so much. And if you just hold on a minute after I end this, you don't have to log out just yet. So I will see everyone next Monday, and take care.
Thank you, Pride.
Thank you. FAMU.